Picture the best-looking landscape bed on your street. Fresh mulch, clean edges, every tree surrounded by a deep, dark mound. That front yard tree may already be dying from the base up. The owner doesn't know it. Neither does anyone walking by. The mulch that looks like the most careful thing they ever did for that yard may be the exact thing that kills it. And that is only one of 9 mulching mistakes I'm counting down today. From the ones that waste your effort to the one that quietly destroys a tree years before the first branch dies back. Some of these cost you a weekend. One of them can cost a homeowner a mature oak before anyone connects the cause. I've seen this enough times, on enough properties, to show you exactly where the damage starts. Mistake number 9. Weed fabric. Year 3 undoes everything. Of all the products sold in the garden center, landscape fabric has the most convincing packaging and the most damage to show for it. Let me tell you what actually happens after year 1. The logic is completely sound on the surface. You lay down a physical barrier. Light cannot reach the soil beneath it. Seeds cannot germinate. In year 1, that is exactly what happens. Weed pressure drops. The beds look clean. The product delivered what it promised. Year 2 and year 3 are a different story. Leaves fall. Twigs drop. Small debris collects on top of the fabric all season long. That organic material breaks down and forms a thin growing medium sitting right on the surface. Wind carries weed seeds in. Birds deposit them. Those seeds do not need the soil below the fabric. They have everything they need right on top of it. By year 3, weeds are growing out of material that arrived on your weed barrier after you installed it. That is the first problem. Here is the second one. Your desirable plant roots grow through the fabric over time. Shrub roots, perennial roots, ground cover roots, all of them find their way down through the weave. When you try to pull the fabric out, you cannot remove it cleanly. The roots have locked it in place. You end up tearing through root systems that took years to establish. And then there is a third issue that goes beyond the garden. Landscape fabric is made from polypropylene. It does not biodegrade. UV exposure and physical wear break the fibers down into microplastic particles that work through the soil. Remove every piece of fabric you can see, and those particles are already in the ground. That is not a weed control issue. That is a soil chemistry issue. 3 to 4 inches of wood mulch or pine bark does the same job. It suppresses light. It handles weed pressure. And when it breaks down, it adds organic material back to your soil instead of leaving plastic behind. Pull it out. Don't look back. Mistake number 8. Old mulch. Gray color means progress. Before we go any further, if you've spent a whole Saturday hauling out last season's mulch before putting down new mulch, I want you to know something. That gray color is not a sign that the mulch stopped working. It is a sign the mulch is doing exactly what it was designed to do. That weathered, faded appearance means decomposition is actively underway. Organic material is converting into humus. Carbon and nitrogen are being added to the soil layer directly beneath it. The mulch is in the middle of becoming a soil amendment, and you are looking at the evidence right there. Every time you rake up that old mulch and haul it away, you are removing the improvement to your soil that you already paid for. Then you lay down fresh material on top of bare ground and start the whole process over. There is one legitimate exception. If mulch has been accumulating over multiple seasons and the total depth has reached 5 or 6 inches, at that point, you do want to pull out some of the older material from underneath. That much depth starts creating drainage and aeration problems at the root zone. Short of that, leave it in place. Top dress with about 1 inch of fresh mulch on top. That refreshes the color and adds new material at the same time. That gray color is not a problem. That gray color is progress. Mistake number 7. Colored mulch. The wood source matters. Walk down the mulch aisle at any Home Depot or Lowe's, and the whole decision tree they give you is black, red, or brown. That framing is missing the information that actually matters. The color itself is usually not the primary concern. Most colored mulches use carbon-based dye, and at normal application rates, that is generally considered safe for plants and soil. The issue is what they are dyeing. A significant portion of colored mulch on the market is made from recycled wood, and that includes old shipping pallets. Many of those pallets were treated with methyl bromide, a fumigant used in international freight, or with other chemical preservatives that were never intended for garden beds. A reputable supplier will tell you exactly where their wood originates. If the bag does not mention the wood source, that is worth a direct question before you buy. Beyond what is in the bag, the type of mulch you select matters more than the color on the label. Pine bark and pine straw are mildly acidic as they break down. That is beneficial for plants like azaleas and blueberries, which prefer lower pH soil. Put that same product next to a vegetable bed that needs neutral pH, and you are working against your plants. Pine bark also carries a notably lower risk for artillery fungus compared to shredded hardwood, which becomes important when beds sit close to your house. That distinction is worth understanding before you choose, and we will cover it fully in the next one. Select your mulch based on what you are growing, what your soil needs, and where the bed sits relative to your foundation. The color on the bag is the last thing to factor in. Mistake number 6. Hardwood mulch. Spores reach 20 feet. Shredded hardwood mulch is genuinely one of the best organic options for your landscape beds. I want to be clear about that. But there is a reason I do not use it within 10 feet of my house, and most people have never heard of it. Shredded hardwood is excellent for soil structure, moisture retention, and weed suppression. Put it in a bed away from your home, and there is nothing better at the same price point. The issue is entirely specific to placement, not to the product itself. Here is what changes when that bed sits against your siding. Shredded hardwood is a natural host for Sphaerobolus stellatus, commonly called artillery fungus. This organism lives inside decomposing wood material. As it matures, it builds internal hydraulic pressure, then fires small spore packets outward in the direction of available light. Penn State Extension, where Dr. Donald Davis has studied this extensively, has documented horizontal launch distances of up to 20 feet. Each spore packet carries a natural adhesive that bonds permanently on contact. Siding, vinyl trim, window frames, automotive paint. Every impact leaves a black spot, roughly 1 to 2 millimeters across. A single growing season on a bed running close to your house can leave hundreds of those marks across your walls and any vehicles parked nearby. A neighbor of mine spent 2 afternoons with industrial cleaner on white vinyl siding and removed almost nothing. That is because the adhesive does not respond to water. Standard household products leave it completely untouched. Pressure washing typically drives the spot deeper into the surface coating instead of releasing it. Penn State research identifies shredded hardwood as the highest incidence host for this fungus. Pine bark tests significantly lower. Pine straw, lower still. Use pine bark or pine straw within 10 feet of any structure. Save the shredded hardwood for open beds well away from your siding and painted surfaces. It is not the mulch's fault. It is the placement. Mistake number 5. Rubber mulch. Durability is the damage. The marketing on rubber mulch is genuinely clever. Lasts 10 years. Never needs replacing. What it does not say is what those 10 years are doing to your soil. The durability claim is accurate. Rubber mulch does not decompose. You install it once, and it is still sitting there in the same condition a decade later. That sounds like an advantage. That is also the problem. Pine bark, shredded hardwood, pine straw, as any of these decompose, they add humus to the soil, feed the microbial activity that makes nutrients available to your roots, and improve how the bed drains and breathes over time. That is what organic mulch is designed to do. Rubber mulch contributes none of it. It sits in the bed and returns nothing to the ground underneath. That is the passive side. Here is the active side. Black rubber in direct sun can reach surface temperatures above 150 degrees Fahrenheit on a hot afternoon. At 1 to 2 inches of depth, that heat is in direct contact with your shallow feeder roots. I've seen ornamental beds that looked strong in spring begin declining by midsummer with no obvious cause. In most of those cases, rubber mulch was installed in full sun exposure, and no one had looked at what the ground temperature was doing. And then there is the chemistry of the material itself. Tire rubber contains zinc and aromatic hydrocarbons. Both leach into the surrounding soil over time, particularly during wet conditions. Zinc in elevated concentrations is toxic to plant tissue. Near edible crops, herbs, or any bed you harvest food from, you are introducing compounds from tire manufacturing into the ground your food grows in. The bag describes it as recycled rubber. What that means in practice is ground-up tires. Pine bark, shredded hardwood for beds away from any structure, or pine straw depending on your region. All of them give something back to the soil when they do. It outlasts everything, including your soil. Mistake number 4. Foundation mulching, neat edges, termite bridge. A neatly mulched bed running right up to your foundation looks clean and finished. It also creates the exact conditions that subterranean termites need to move from your yard into your house. Most homeowners extend mulch all the way to the siding because it reads as intentional. Clean edges, full coverage, no exposed ground. It looks like thorough landscaping. Here is what it is actually doing. Mulch retains moisture. Pressed directly against your foundation or the base of your siding, it creates a consistently damp zone exactly where the ground meets your structure. Reticulotermes species, which account for the large majority of subterranean termite damage across the United States, need 2 things to enter a building: sustained moisture and proximity to wood fiber. Mulch against your siding delivers both at the same time. The termites are not arriving in the mulch. They are already in the soil around your foundation. What the mulch does is build a continuous damp connection from that soil directly to your structure, holding the conditions they need right at the point where they are looking for a way in. The fix is one action. Pull the mulch back 6 to 8 inches from the foundation perimeter all the way around the house. That gap removes the connection. It does not eliminate all termite risk, but it stops you from actively building the ideal entry condition into your yard every time you apply a new layer. If you are in the Southeast, Gulf Coast, or Mid-Atlantic states, a licensed annual termite inspection is worth scheduling, regardless of your mulching approach. 6 to 8 inches of clearance every single time. Mistake number 3. Mulch and weeds. Works below, not above. Mulch does suppress weeds. That part is accurate. Here is the part the bag never mentions. 3 to 4 inches of quality mulch blocks light from reaching the soil surface. Seeds sitting in the ground underneath cannot germinate without it. In year 1, the result is real. Weed pressure drops and the beds stay noticeably cleaner. Year 2 is when the gap in that promise shows up. Seeds do not only move underground. Wind carries them. Birds drop them. Material from neighboring beds blows in. All of those seeds land on top of the mulch layer, and the mulch surface gives them exactly what they need: moisture and enough light to germinate. By year 2 and beyond, the weeds are no longer coming from the soil below. They are growing in the material sitting on top of it. Depth controls this more than anything else. Go below 3 inches, and you are not blocking enough light to stop underground germination. Go above 4 inches, and you create moisture retention problems at your plant crowns while restricting airflow to the roots. 3 to 4 inches holds both issues in check. That is the range to maintain, and it is far easier to refresh than to correct once exceeded. One more thing worth noting. Weeds rooted in mulch pull out more cleanly than weeds anchored in compacted bare ground. You are not getting a weed-free yard. You are getting a yard that takes less work to keep up. Mulch manages weeds. It does not eliminate them. Mistake number 2. Mulch and termites. The fear is wrong. This one is keeping a lot of homeowners from mulching at all. And the irony is that the fear is based on a misunderstanding of what termites actually need. I want to be upfront about what makes this one different. There is a grain of truth in it, which is exactly why it sticks around. Mulch, applied incorrectly, can create favorable conditions for termites to reach your structure. That is real. But the problem belongs to the placement, not to the product. Here's what the biology actually shows. Subterranean termites, primarily Reticulotermes flavipes, throughout most of the continental United States, already colonize the soil around virtually every structure in termite-active regions. They do not travel to your yard because of mulch. What draws them toward a building is a sustained moisture zone in direct contact with wood fiber. Mulch pressed against your siding holds exactly that at the ground-to-structure boundary. That is the bridge we addressed in mistake 4. Remove the bridge by pulling mulch 6 to 8 inches back from the foundation perimeter, and the risk profile of a mulched bed becomes essentially the same as bare ground. I have worked with homeowners who avoided mulching entirely for years out of this concern. Their bare soil beds had no fewer termite issues than properties nearby with properly cleared, well-maintained mulch. Mulch does not import termites. It does not increase a colony's size or draw termites to a location they had no existing reason to be. If you are in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Louisiana, Mississippi, or Texas, a licensed pest control inspection every year is advisable, regardless of what is in your beds. Mulch your beds. Keep the clearance in place. The problem was never the mulch. The problem was the placement. Mistake number 1. Volcano mulching. Dead before you notice. This is the one I want you to remember when this video is over, because by the time the damage from this mistake becomes visible, the window to fix it has already closed. You know what this looks like in a well-kept yard. Mulch piled in a deep mound directly against a tree trunk. Sometimes 8 to 12 inches thick at the base. It reads as protective. It looks like someone who takes care of their trees. Let me be specific about what is happening at the base of that trunk. Bark is external protective tissue built for air exposure. It was not designed for sustained contact with wet material. Mulch pressed against a trunk creates a permanently damp environment right where the bark meets the wood. That zone is a natural habitat for Phytophthora species and related crown rot pathogens. These organisms attack the cambium, the thin living tissue just beneath the bark that moves water and nutrients to every branch and leaf throughout the tree. Once cambium damage circles the trunk, the tree cannot recover. The reason this mistake persists is the time gap. From the day the mound goes up against the bark to the day the canopy starts showing yellowing or dieback, 1 to 3 years can pass. The tree looks completely healthy in between. Homeowners have no reason to connect a mulching decision from 2 seasons ago to a tree that now appears to be struggling from disease or drought. Mature trees, 20 to 50 years old, carry the highest risk because the thicker bark holds more sustained moisture against the tissue beneath it. Clear mulch 3 to 6 inches back from every trunk on your property. Keep the depth at 3 to 4 inches maximum around trees. Check your trees tonight. If there is a mound, pull it back. Those are 9 mulching mistakes. Any one of them can cost you more than the price of everything you put down. Before you go, I want to ask you something. Which of these have you seen in your own yard or somewhere in your neighborhood? Leave it in the comments. I read through them, and I genuinely want to know what is showing up most where you live. If you have been doing any of these without realizing it, now you know what to change. If this gave you something useful, a like helps more people find it. And if you want more content on what actually works in the ground and in your beds, subscribing keeps you connected. Take care of your trees.